on The Truth. It's GM Kolethras, Vince Nardone, showcasing the top football in FPF in Quebec. Welcome, Vince. Thanks for coming back.
Well, thank you to the listeners for listening. Your microphone. My microphone's on. I told you it was on before it started. It's not really.
Is it flashing still? Are you killing the feed? So we're going to continue on without it. What I'm going to do is you're going to have to speak up, and we're going to deal between the two of us right now.
Good.
Welcome.
I'd like to mention that I said that my mic wasn't working before the show started, and Eagle.
I wish we had a producer.
It would be good so we could have these sort of technical things resolved. Thankfully, our resident expert, Uncle Mike, www.theunclemikeshow.com, you would know this because you're listening to this live. But if you don't and you're finding us on the podcast,
so like I was saying, welcome back to the listeners. If we're here, that means it's Thursday, which means tomorrow's Friday, which is always good.
We're also here, which means that people can still stand us, at least for now.
For now. Super Bowl's around the corner, which I'm really excited about. I don't know about our listeners, but I'm a Patriots fan, and
I'm a Seahawks fan.
Super Bowl is like... I feel right now like I did when I was 6 years old, going to bed on the December 23rd, knowing that you only have to sleep like 8 more hours and you get to wake up and unwrap your presents. Do I have to be this close?
You don't have to be this close if you adjust your volume accordingly.
All right.
So we're going to get into the game since you glossed over the fact that you don't want to discuss the Seahawks. They don't exist as far as you're concerned. It's just... So that's fine. We'll see.
Marshawn Lynch exists. Nobody else does.
I'm here so I don't get fined. First game of the week.
Basically why I'm here.
First game of the week. D-Boys, Terror Squad, 40-7 final. What are your impressions on this game?
Tough game to watch for Terror Squad. That's back-to-back beatings. It looked like they were imploding.
Someone read ahead in the script.
Nope. Somebody wrote an article. No, it looked like Pat Jerome and even Marchile and Corey. They all looked so flustered, so rattled. At one point, Tam was giving the ball to Corey. It looked like Tam was just like, "Here, take the ball, so you can see what I feel like right now. Like, there's nothing I can do." It was brutal.
So I don't need to ask you if they're imploding as well and if there's animosity among the teammates. Do you think then, I'm going to put you on the spot since it's not something with prep, do you think then that Corey Greenaway should be taking over as quarterback of this team if they're having that sort of frustration amongst them?
No. I don't think they should. I just feel like I just feel like it's been 2 long weeks for Tam and he needed to... It was 2 plays where he gave...
It was necessary to vent?
Kind of. These guys have been together forever. I don't think... on the field, obviously, in the heat of the moment when everything's gone wrong and you're no longer having fun, it's easy to just be impulsive and get mad and say things you don't mean. But after the game, I'm sure they had a meeting. I'm sure they talked about it, and they're going to come back and they're going to be stronger next week.
We're going to touch on it a little bit later on as well. Yeah. But the D-Boys really showed their depth in that game. Yeah. What do they bring to the boys' club of D1? What makes them different than the existing teams?
At this point, I think what makes a difference in flag, when you have an elite quarterback, when you can put points on the board, your defense is what's going to make a difference. And your defense obviously implies your rusher. So I think that Matt Kirak makes a huge difference in Division 1. A strong, physical, well-led defense also is going to pull a lot of weight in Division 1.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Moving on to the next game, in our showcase of the games that went on in Div 1 and Div 2, is Demons versus Express, 40-24 final. Was this a Demons victory, or was this the Express losing the game?
I'd say a bit of both. I think Demons finally were clicking on. They were going on all cylinders in this one. They look good. I've been truthful up to this point about Demons and how I felt, and I'll give them credit for the game that they played last week. They look good.
Yeah, without a doubt. The roster seems to be evening out. They seem to be finding what works for them and what doesn't, and proceeding accordingly.
Yeah, Robbie had an impact on the game. Like we mentioned the prior week, the addition of Robbie for speed was huge. He made an impact last week. I think he had 2 touchdowns in the game. And their defense coming up big. It was a good game. And on the same time, Express with Pat Chenard as quarterback, Didn't look so good. Just didn't look so good. It looked like Pat had a hard time connecting with his receivers.
Not only that, he seems to be struggling making that key third down read and executing that throw. Like when the clutch throw is really, really needed, it's not there.
Yeah.
We're also starting to see, with Chenard playing rusher instead of playing safety, we're starting to see more holes in that Express defense. Do you think that this is something that's going to fix itself? Or going to get worse before it gets better?
I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think you need Pat Chenard playing defense. I know that on his Division 2 team, they're rotating the rush, and every time he's not rushing, it makes a huge difference. I don't know that it would make that big of a difference in Division 1. I don't know who else they can have that would rush in terms of speed. Maybe one of the Suet brothers can do a good job.
Even possibly Laurent Levin-Nas, who's a fantastic athlete.
Because I strongly believe you need Pat back there covering.
Moving on to Division 2 instead of Division 1. The Commission versus Flag Football Fantasy, a very forgettable 19-21 final. The game was not really one for the ages. What are your thoughts? Two established teams who really did not play well at all.
Yeah, well, I'll just keep going with the truth. Zan Simmons is off to one of the most horrific quarterback performances I think in a while. He averages below 100 and I think 15 yards per game throwing. He's on pace. What?
Perfect.
He's on pace. I think he's on pace for 20 interceptions on the season. And at the same time, on the other side of the ball, Benny Goodfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Benny Goodfriend can thank his defense for this one. Two picks from Chris Robertson on the game, and then if you combine Nate and his brother Garrett Taylor and Bailey, they had I think 5 pass deflections altogether. So, I mean, you can rely on your defense sometimes to get you victories,
but it's absolutely necessary to step up.
Yeah.
Benny's my own QB in Division 3, and I think the same thing was happening. It was a really, really forgettable week, and something needs to be learned before next week comes around. Cold Fusion versus Les Monsieur Chat, 39-12 final because I'm dyslexic. Are Les Monsieur Chat having difficulty adjusting to Division 2?
Yeah, it seems obvious now. I like to say no because I like them. I like them as a team, but it seems to me like they're starting to have a hard time. Cold Fusion was missing Godfrey Abou and Nigel Thomas.
However, they've made some key additions as well. We'll touch on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't reflect on the site, but Antonio Lani played in that game for Cold Fusion.
He's not staying.
They've just been juggling guys
and
here.
Jordan
and there.
Alexi
also
Jordan
played.
Alexi and Lani were subbing for the 2 missing players this week. I don't know that they'll stay around. I don't think so, from what I've heard. I just know that Prince loves to write to me and like, you picked against us again. We beat them again.
Yeah, Tony said the same thing as he was leaving the arena. He said, "Tell Vince to keep picking against us."
See, so I'm gonna keep picking against them. Although I think they're gonna end up having a good season. They'll be the team that never saw coming. So yeah. At
the end of the season, come week 10, where do you see these two teams? Teams that started off in opposite directions. One really, really struggling. One undefeated up until this point.
I've got Cold Fusion with what they have left on their schedule, finishing off 8-2, based on what I was looking at, and it's tough for me to talk about Les Monsieur Chat right now because Chantomo's off a horrific game. He threw for 58 yards total. Pat Jerome had a pick 6, and they still lost by a ton of points. So I don't want to judge him right now.
So we're gonna leave that right now. He's not
gonna
fall under the microscope just yet.
No, not yet.
Moving on right now, under 500 teams in Div 2. There's a lot of surprising teams, top tier teams in this league right now who have come off to a very, very slow start. First one to look at, Gladiator, 1-2, former Division 1 team. They have multiple championships in this league. What's wrong with them thus far?
To be honest, to tell you the truth, I think it's the aging roster. I think they've stayed together so long, and I think the group as a whole is just getting older and older. And as time passes, I think their athletic ability is diminishing, and it's starting to show. Not that they're not good, because they're all really, really good athletes. They're all really good people, and I love them all. But I think it's starting to show that
the division is evolving around them.
Exactly.
Do you think that's a similar case for Wolfpack as well, who also right now have a 1-2 start, are they suffering from the same thing, or is it something different from them? This was a team that used to be dominant. They went to the finals 3 times in 4 years. They were a perennial Div 2 powerhouse.
Yeah, I think they can still be dominant. They just traded punch for punch with ONS, which is a really good feat. The only problem with them is that they have the best offense in Division 2. They have 107 points for. Best offense. They have the worst defense, or one of the worst defense at 108 points against. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to win games when you're giving up that many points.
What are your answers for these two teams? Also, are there any other teams as well that you find surprising that you think are not indicative of their record?
I mean, adjustments need to be made. You're at the point of the season where you've seen enough, where you have enough facts on the table, you got enough stats where you can regroup as a whole and make adjustments. I mean, it just needs to get done. So,
aside from these two, is there anyone else who really sparks your interest, who needs to really step up?
Needing to step up. Served what I stepped up last week. I think they need to continue stepping up. They had a rough start to their season. Hashtag No Regard needs to step up. I don't think they'll be able to.
We'll discuss that later on
as well. Discuss that later. What do you think?
I mean, aside from these teams, I don't know if they're the team to compete in Division 2 right now, but another team who's winless right now and really could use that extra boost. Had a rough season last year as well. BC Lima McGonagals, another team that really needs to find answers.
And I was trying to create hype for them because I like them. I feel like they have a good roster. They're having a hard time.
So, with that in mind, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to discuss Div 1 as well as our favorite, The Truth. We're going to go back and forth and we're going to name a lot of things. We're going to put some things under the microscope that we haven't thus far.
Sounds good. The Truth it is.
Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for CEGEP or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information or visit www.distanted.ca for more details.
Back with The Truth. I'm GM Kolethras. I can be tweeted at GMKOLE44. You've got Vince Nardone across from me at Vince Nardone. Easy enough. If you want to live tweet into the show for the two of you that are listening right now, we can be reached at Eagle FPF. Our producer Eagle can take care of the tweet-in questions. For now, Division 1 playoffs. Early thoughts thus far. Tell me what you're thinking about it. We're going to discuss the crossover rule as well.
Yeah.
So right now, how do you like the division looking right now? There's two teams who are 0-3. You have the 1-2 teams, and you have the 3-0 and the 2-1.
So you got
it's a fair distribution, basically. Sorry.
Well, it's like a mirror from the conference is a mirror from the other conference, right? Mm-hmm. So you got the Rainmaker, which is my surprise at 3-0 in Conference A. Flagmois-Sac, a team that I love again, 2-1, and then Demons and Express is where I would have thought it would have been a flip. I never would have thought the Express would be off to a 0-3 start, and I didn't think Demons would have a win by now. And on the other side of the story, DK's, I guess, a letdown. And Terror Squad is 0-3. You can expect Montreal's Finest to go undefeated on the season, although I said they were going to finish 9-1, expecting one of these teams to be able to take them down. So the distribution of wins, I guess, is fair. Yeah, it's fair.
Not ruling out the possibility that Montreal's Finest could lose cross-divisionally to one of the other teams, be it Flag-Molissac or Demons. I think it would be more likely. If it was anyone, it would be Flag-Molissac.
You telling me Demons going to beat Montreal's Finest?
No, I didn't. I said if it's anyone. I said, and I even quantified it. Okay. I said if it's anyone, it'll be Flag-Molissac.
Okay.
The crossover rule, what's going on right now, very similar to in the CFL. You have 4 and 4 right now, and if one of the teams in Conference A, the 4th seed, finishes better than the 3 seed in Conference B, they jump into that playoff bracket, essentially. Do you think we're going to see it happen this season?
I personally don't think so, no. But I love the rule. I love that it just creates fairness because you have such a small pool of teams. You have 4 and 4, 8 teams. It's like the CFL. It sucks if you're the Express or Terra Squad and you get stuck in the top conference where you got D-Boys, DK, Montreal's Finest, and you end up with a better record than Demons and you can't get into the playoffs. That'd be horrific. That being said, I don't think Terra Squad's going to be able to pull the upset and take Demons out of the playoffs. I think it's between Express and Demons. Who's going to win that? Who's going to have the most wins at the end of the season?
So do you think it's going to be implemented? Not at all. So you think it's going to be as quoted? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's a fantastic rule to have because unlike the other divisions where divisional games and crossovers aren't as important as the games within your bracket, you're in Division 1. This is the top tier talent. You want the best going to the finals. Exactly. You really want this to be done properly. So we're going to go to our favorite segment, The Truth Hurts. I'm going to ask you a true or false question. You're going to give me that true or false answer, and then you can actually go about explaining yourself as well. So, first one. The Rainmakers' undefeated record ends with the upcoming D-Boys game.
True. I think D-Boys have way more talent, and they match up extremely well on defense against the Rainmakers.
Perfect. True or false? In Division 1, D-Boys have the best receiving core.
False. Guillaume Ward, Aked Moore, Brian Lariviere, Mike Harrington, Keyshawn Thompson.
Hands down?
Hands down.
Perfect. BC McGonagalls should start thinking about options other than Joel Joule at quarterback. They're off to an 0-3 start right now.
Yeah. False, because I don't think they have any other options. And the thing is, he's good. He's a good quarterback with a good arm. I just don't think he's adapted to flag football at all. I'm not even sure he knows the rules. I saw him rush into the red zone and then rush again and dive face first, pointing the ball into the end zone. So first of all, you rushed twice in a row. Mm-hmm. You rushed while you were in the red zone, and you dove and you pointed the ball into the end zone, and his flags never crossed the line of scrimmage or the end zone. So maybe he should get familiar with flag and the rules, and then lead his team towards some wins, because he's a good quarterback.
I'm going to deviate away from my next question a little bit. I'm just going to change it. With their injuries, #NoRegard will finish with a 3-7 or worse record. Initially, the prediction would have been 4-6, but with a 3-7 or worse with these injuries.
True. Yeah, I believe that's possible. They're currently averaging 11 points.
I didn't say is it possible or not. I want the truth. Will it happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so now you want a yes or no answer?
No.
Okay. True and yes. They're currently averaging 11.33 points for per game and 32 points against per game. That in all fairness, these are facts and these are stats, and that adds up to not a lot of success.
So, I like this. We're going to touch upon more as the season goes on.
You like the truth.
I really like the truth. As the season goes on, we're going to get a little bit harsher and harsher, getting under the skin, but touching on what's being said either at the fields or what's on the minds of Division 1 right now. If you want, if you're at all interested, either via the Facebook wall or through Twitter, tweet us your truths at EagleFPF. Provided it's civil, we'll keep it civil. We'll definitely answer your questions as well. That would be awesome.
Tweet us how you feel about us. Mm-hmm. Just speak the truth.
There's no Division 1 games that will be happening this weekend, so we'll be touching only on our predictions for Division 2. First one, #NoRegard versus Served with Ice. Two teams who really, with their records, need to win right now.
Yeah, the Served with Ice started serving ice last week.
I liked your assessment, your glitch in the game. Can you say that on air?
Well, I wrote about it in my article. Okay, I'll tell you.
Tony Desmond.
Tony Desmond is this freak on served with ice, and it's like a glitch in Madden where you just find an RTX and you get a touchdown out of it. It's like a route where it can't be stopped. It's just where Pineda backs up, throws a ball directly into the air, and it just falls. It falls into the end zone, and you got Tony Desmond with 3 DBs, 1 around each leg, and he just jumps and catches the ball 100% of the time, and it's a glitch. It's an unfair glitch.
Okay. Who do you like in this game?
Who do I like in this game? Served with ice. Hands down, served with ice.
I think I'm going to agree with you on that. I think with the lack of Demi Feelgood at rush, there's not going to be someone who can really contain Jordan Pineda, and it's going to be really, really tough stopping that deep ball. Served with ice have their go-to plays. If you know them, you know what's coming right out of the gate. You know what's going to happen on third down. Yeah. You need to really be able to stop them.
And like I said at the beginning of the season about Hallowack, the quarterback for No Regard, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for him to adjust to the defensive schemes that he's now up against, and he's obviously not adjusted yet.
Next up, we have the Commission, CLR Forces, 2 teams who started well. We're starting to see a real powerhouse in CLR Forces after having been absent from the league for a little while. Yeah. What are your thoughts on these 2 teams individually and then as a whole facing off against each other?
I have a lot of friends that play for CLR, guys that I played with
Taban?
Way back when playing midget. I
okay.
played with these guys. I was 16. They're really, really strong defensively. I mean, it's a core of defensive guys who can play both ways. And then you got Guillaume Ward, who's catching 3 TDs per game, and he's unstoppable.
Hall of Fame candidate, Guillaume Ward.
I would give him my vote. Guillaume can rush. Guillaume can play defense. Well, he's playing defense by rushing. And he can catch 3-4 touchdowns, 7-8 balls, 100 yards a game.
One of those players you can just put anywhere.
In Division 1 or in Division 2. So Guillaume Ward gets my vote for Hall of Fame. If I had a vote, I don't have one. As for the Commission, tough. Zan needs to start figuring it out.
They've been successful thus far, but I think this may be the end of that success with them. They had a close game, albeit a close game against Flag Football Fantasy. I don't know if it's going to be this close. It all comes down to how well Zan fares against the rushing of.
Exactly. You keep him from running. You keep him inside the pocket, and you make him beat you with his arm. I don't think he will.
So, do you think that this is going to be a close game, or it's just going to be?
Yeah, it can be a close game because CLR is their own enemy. I mean, I played them game 1 with Legends, and the quarterback was off. So I think the pressure lies on his shoulders.
Last one for the night. A couple teams we haven't really talked about a lot. They've been getting more press as the season goes on. But Châteauguay's Gladiator. Châteauguay's losing a close one. Gladiator losing a close one. Both teams really, really needing that standout win to really springboard them.
Yeah, well, this week I played against Châteauguay's, and it was my first time even seeing them as a team. I know they were missing a lot of guys. I don't know who's supposed to show up week in and week out for them. They have a huge roster, but they have a lot of talent. Quarterback throws a really good ball. Mm-hmm. They are strong on defense. I mean, we beat them. They had a chance to beat us with 1 play left. And we were able to lock them up on defense.
Yeah, it was a failure to execute.
Exactly.
They had everything in their hands. They marched up the field. They know who was being covered and who wasn't, and it slipped through their fingers.
It's been the case for most of the season where they just haven't been able to close out games, and eventually they're going to be able to close out games and they're going to have success. As for the Gladiators, I've told you about them already earlier today. But this is a game that they should win. This is a game that they should win because of the experience that they have over Châteauguay's and the roster that they have. That being said, do I think they're able to do it? I don't know. I always pick experience, and it always bites me in the ass. So I'm gonna go athletic ability over experience on this one.
I was gonna say, because of your showcase early on why Gladiator was struggling, this is gonna be a perfect example of that if that is the case.
And I still think the Gladiators are favorite. They're favorite in this game, maybe by a touchdown. But I'm gonna pick against them.
Okay, I like that. So, before we wrap this up, final thoughts. First of all, Hall of Fame nominees, about the division as a whole. I don't care about what you have to say about the Super Bowl, so we'll gloss over that completely.
Well, there's one more thing I wanted to mention was the upset last week in TNT beating Chernobyl Circus.
Yes.
What a game that was. Quite a turn of event when everybody thinks that Pat Chenard has a sack. I thought it was a sack. Everybody thinks that Pat Chenard has a sack and it turns into a 40-yard touchdown. And that's the game. What do you learn from something like that?
Something that's frustrating to say the least. You know at the end of the game, Pat Chenard is going to be on the sidelines really trying to get an explanation from that. I wasn't there, but that's a picture I have in my head.
Yeah, and TNT looked good. And they were running this read option. They're reading the DN just, no, we're good. It was hilarious. I loved it. I never want to see it again though.
What that means is that do TMT have the best O-line in FPF if he's able to correctly make that read option every play?
It means that he's been working all summer making reads, and now he's figured out the DNs.
Perfect. So, anything else to add before we wrap it up as far as Hall of Fame or?
My article is written. It's currently being edited, and when I say edited, it means that my girlfriend's reading it before I send it to Rob.
Shout out Audrey.
Shout out Audrey. For those of you who know Audrey, my better half. I usually send it before this, but I figured because Division 1 has nothing going on this week, we could do the podcast, and then I'd give them something else to do this weekend, or read for those of you who read my article. Read the stuff about yourself.
Yeah, Control F, basically.
Control F. Mocon.
So on that note, I really want to thank you. We're going to bounce back next week. We're going to have Division 1 games that we can preview. We can get a little more in-depth as well as storylines start to emerge.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us on The Truth. Until next week, we're out. I really need to come up with a better sign-off than that.